A true crime author and an investigative reporter is in town for a book festival. Her book highlights one forensic scientist's dedication to restoring the long-lost identities of the teenage victims of one of America's most prolific serial killers. Joining us here in studio this afternoon is the author of The Scientist and the Serial Killer, Lise Olsen. Lisa, welcome and thanks for being with us. We appreciate this very much.
Thanks for having me, Will.
Let's talk about the focus of your book. I see you have it there right in your hand, but explain to everybody at home what you focused on here.
So this is a really terrible crime. It remains one of the worst murders in Texas history. More than 24 boys and young men were kidnapped, tortured, and killed without even police opening one case. They were all presumed to be runaways. But what a lot of people forgot about is that about a third of the victims were never identified. So this story is about lost identity, regaining those identities, and what secrets are revealed when those identities come to light. There's a lot of unevenness across the U.S. about how many of these kinds of cases get investigated, as KXAN has reported on.
Yeah, we'll talk a little bit more about that in just a moment, but I'm curious to know more about what got you looking into this.
Well, before I lived in Texas, I lived in Seattle, which has perhaps the worst serial killer, the Green River Killer, and he got away with those crimes much longer because some of his victims were not identified. Police cannot even start an investigation before that happens. So I got really interested in this issue of lost identity and how those could be restored through forensic science and forensic anthropology, and lead to answers for families and new answers about crimes too.
And as you were looking into these cases here in Texas, you also looked at changes that there have been to criminal investigations since these happened. Talk to us about what that uncovered.
Absolutely. I mean, in the day, like I said, they didn't even identify that these kids had been taken by a killer. They were presumed to be runaways. Of course, today we would have Amber Alerts. We would have analysis of crime data, and hopefully these kind of clusters of disappearances would have been red flag. But I think the kind of concerning thing is we still have, disappearances of kids today. We still don't have enough resources. In this case, though, I track how the forensic anthropology and the other science helped identify these kids even decades later and give their families answers that they needed, and also illuminated the fact that this serial killer happened to be part of an organized crime ring that had some other members who were never previously identified. He was part of a group of people who took erotic photos of some of these kids. At least 11 of the victims' photos had been distributed internationally. And so that was part of the crime that was really hidden back in the 70s, and I think is something that's really important for people to know about today, that when victims are not identified, crimes, then some things can get covered up.
Right, and we can certainly learn a lot from that, for sure.
Absolutely.
For anybody out there who might be interested in hearing a little bit more about your book, I know you have a couple of stops, not only here in Austin, but also nearby. Talk to us about where you're headed next.
Yeah, tonight I'll be at Book People just down the road at 7 p.m. and then I'll be at the San Antonio Book Festival, which is a really great festival. Hopefully good weather this weekend. It sounds like the weather forecast is good. On Saturday all day with all kinds of Texas authors there in downtown San Antonio.
Well, good luck with all of that, and thank you so much for talking to us about your book. I hope people out there will go and check it out.
Well, thank you so much for your time, Will.
All right, Lise Olsen, we appreciate it.